Your daughter sure does take her time.
What? Does that bother you?
Welcome to WatchMojo, and today we're talking about every host banned from SNL.
He's old, man. I'm telling you. I forget. What'd you say?
You know, you can't say this, you can't say that. I'm like, well, how am I going to talk about the world?
You will decide whether one man will ever appear on this show again.
For this list, we're looking at all of the hosts and non-cast members who have been permanently banned from Studio 8H. Do you think these bans were justified? Let us know in the comments. Number 7. Frank Zappa. Frank Zappa was definitely eccentric, and that might seem ideal for a comedy show like SNL.
I don't know much about dancing, that's why I got this song. One of my legs is shorter than the other and both my feet's too long.
However, there is a difference between being spontaneous and just being difficult. The musician hosted and performed on the show in 1978, and he quickly made enemies.
I am a musician. And I'm giving a concert. No, that should be out there. That should be in there.
Don Novello, who wrote for SNL and made appearances as Father Guido Sarducci, said the dress rehearsal before the show went dismally. So when it was time to air, Zappa went meta, breaking the fourth wall and referring to the cue cards he was reading off of.
Thank you. And remember, I'm reading this off these cards underneath this camera here.
There wasn't anything funny to be found in Zappa's bizarre approach, so it's no wonder series creator Lorne Michaels never invited him back.
It's so nice to see you again. Ladies and gentlemen, I like Friends of Chevy Chase Incorporated.
Number 6. Robert Blake. When you think of comedic actors, you don't think of Robert Blake. The Beretta star confirmed this with one of the worst SNL hosting stints of all time.
You don't like Hollywood, do you?
Well, it's better than a poke in the eye with a sharp stick, if you know what I mean.
Even before the show aired, Blake proved himself to be a total pain. As writer David Sheffield recalls, Blake responded to one sketch pitch by crumpling up the paper and throwing it in writer and cast member Gary Kroger's face.
The buzzer has gone off onto the spin cycle.
Very good.
Because the load is out of balance.
We understood that hosts and writers might have some disagreements on what's funny, but that doesn't excuse the absolute cruelty exhibited by Blake. Thankfully, the cast and crew did not have to deal with him again.
They didn't tell me you guys were going to be up here doing this. What are you making a fool out of me for?
Hey, you don't need us to make a fool out of you, Bob. You do a pretty good job by yourself.
Number 5. Milton Berle. Just because someone has TV hosting experience does not mean they're a good fit for Saturday Night Live. When the television legend hosted in 1979, he seemed to have something of a god complex.
Thank you. Thank you. You want me. You love me.
He would allegedly defy direction and instead try to run the show himself. It might have been okay if Berle's ideas were funny or interesting, but by all accounts, they were neither, and he lost his chance of ever being re-invited to the show.
When I asked them, when they begged me to be on the show, I was thrilled.
Some of the worst actions included telling hackneyed, offensive jokes in his monologue,
She's very pretty.
changing dialogue, and putting together a standing ovation for himself without any notice. Berle was likely a hero to many of the SNL cast and crew members, but you know what they say about meeting your heroes. Number 4. Andy Kaufman. Andy Kaufman never actually hosted SNL, but the offbeat comedian made multiple appearances as a featured artist on the sketch program.
Listen.
Kaufman was banned from the show in a particularly unique way. It wasn't Lorne Michaels or NBC who made the decision. It was the show's audience.
Dick Ebersol, the executive producer of Saturday Night Live, came on this show last week and said that Kaufman's material was no longer up to this show's standards.
In 1983, viewers were polled about whether to dump Andy or keep Andy.
Now, if you're like me and you want to see Andy Kaufman on Saturday Night Live, dial 1-900-720-4101.
Ultimately, the anti-Andy Brigade won, and Kaufman and his unique brand of comedy were not invited back to the show. A year later, he passed away from lung cancer, but he's still remembered as a one-of-a-kind comedic voice.
Also like to apologize to all the women that I've wrestled.
Number 3, Martin Lawrence. Some comedians have an anything-goes approach to their material.
Man, oh man, look at all these white people.
But just because something is allowed in a nightclub or on HBO does not mean it's okay for network television. When Martin Lawrence hosted in 1994, he deviated from the approved monologue and started speaking very crassly about women and their personal hygiene. West Coast audiences didn't even get to see that part of the monologue due to how offensive it was. The backlash was immense, with numerous complaints being filed and Lawrence being banned for good.
If you're not clean in your proper areas, I can't, kiss all over the places I want to kiss.
Footage of Lawrence's most incendiary comments has been kept in the vault, which is probably for the best based on the transcripts. Number 2. Adrien Brody. So far, Adrien Brody is the only Oscar winner to be reportedly banned from SNL, and we can see why.
It's an honor to be on Saturday Night Live. It's great to be back home to New York, where I'm from.
When introducing musical guest Sean Paul in 2003, Brody wore a dreadlock wig and began rambling in an offensive faux Jamaican accent. This was a horrible cringe-inducing moment and seemingly ensured that Brody would never be invited back to the show. Although Brody says he was never told he was banned for good, it's no surprise that he hasn't hosted SNL again. Former head writer Tina Fey heavily implied he was the all-time worst host. Maybe if he wins another Oscar, he'll get another chance.
I just closed my eyes and I made my peace with God. Terrific!
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. Steven Seagal. Steven Seagal's hosting was legendary, but not in a good way. The action star was absolutely incapable of not taking himself seriously, and was reportedly a terror to the cast and crew.
I'm not in the mood for this,
All right, Nico, not in the mood.
When Seagal hosted in 1991, he allegedly took over the show, believing his ideas to be better than those of the experienced performers and writers on staff.
But it's important to me to let you know that there's a lot more to Steven Seagal than the martial arts.
What he came up with were unfunny sketches clearly written to stroke his ego. His stiff performance style makes it questionable if Seagal even understands how comedy is supposed to work.
This is Jennifer's date, Doug. This is Jennifer's dad.
Mr. Novak? I think this kid needs an ashtray.
Former cast members Tim Meadows and David Spade have commented on how unpleasant Seagal was to deal with, as has Lorne Michaels, who later referred to Seagal as the worst host ever on air.
Well, I like shop, and I'm real good with cars.
Well, that's good, because I guess that means in the middle of the night I won't get a phone call that your car broke down and that's why you were late or anything like that, will I?
No.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.